morning. Great to have all of you with us on this Easter Monday, as they say on NewsNation Now. We mentioned Easter. The Biden's hosting the annual Easter egg roll at the White House. We see this every year. This was earlier today, but it comes after the president and the man who wants to be president again had strikingly different Easter messages for the American people. President Biden saying that we pray for one another and cherish the blessing of the dawn of new possibilities. Former President Trump, meantime, wishing a happy Easter to all, including crooked and corrupt prosecutors and judges handling his legal cases. Now, while Trump may be gearing up to select his running mate, which we're going to talk about in a moment, there are more and more of those who used to be close to him and know him well who are now sounding the alarm about what they see as the danger of a second Trump term in office. John Bolton served as Trump's national security advisor. He's the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations as well. And Ambassador Bolton joins us now. Would you, big picture, have a message, Ambassador Bolton, to Trump voters, especially those who are persuadable, that you'd want to deliver?
Well, I think the big question for Trump is really whether he's fit to be president again. And given the tumultuous world that we live in, whether he's the right person to guide our national security policies. I don't think so. No, don't get me wrong. I don't think Biden is the answer either. I think we're in a very bad situation where neither choice is adequate. But I think Trump's view of the world that everything is seen through the prism of what benefits Donald Trump is certainly not the answer we're looking for.
You know, it's interesting. I had almost the exact same conversation with Tim Pawlenty on Friday. He used to be the governor of Minnesota. He says, I'm not for Trump, but I'm not for Biden either. We actually have a list of those like you who've worked for Trump or with Trump who have kind of turned on him. And it's a long, long list from, you know, the likes of Mike Pence, obviously, but down the line with, you know, Milley and Tillerson and Haley and Christie and McMaster and so on and so forth. There you go, Kelly and Mulvaney and Scaramucci and everybody else. So the people on this list, is it something in the experience that you had or maybe that a voter doesn't see about Trump, or is it just the simple stuff that we all see, January 6th?
Well, you know, a lot of people say that they like Trump's policies, but they don't like his personality. And I think it's fair to say where he governed as a traditional Republican, his judicial appointments, his tax policy, his economic regulatory policy, he was successful because those are the right things to do. Any Republican would do them. But when he gets into other areas, it's much more problematic. And it's not because of his personality. It's his inability, certainly in the national security space, to grasp what the issues are, what the American national interest is, and how to protect those interests. It's an unfitness for the job. It's not a personality problem.
And how much of that, I mentioned January 6th, you brought up national security and foreign policy, is related to January 6th. This hour, and we'll cover this later in the hour if we see it happen, the Biden administration actually has announced they're going to have, a Biden campaign, I should say, has announced they're going to hold a press conference with a Capitol police officer and another one of the police officers impacted by January 6th. They clearly want to make this a big issue in the campaign. Should it be?
Well, look, it was a very sad day in American history, and I do assign responsibility for it to Donald Trump. Even worse, in my view, than January 6th was at one point in the past year, he said the Constitution should be suspended so that he could be deemed the winner of the 2020 election. That is so far out of bounds that I think almost alone that statement is disqualifying. You don't suspend the Constitution for anybody. It's our biggest protection.
You know, it's interesting. We're having this conversation, Ambassador, long before the election, so there's still plenty of time and, you know, some persuadable voters that I mentioned earlier that presumably have not made up their mind. But I was struck by something you said. I think it was last week when you were on a panel with George Conway about how you wish you spoke up maybe sooner or took this threat serious sooner. Let's listen to that and come back and talk about it. Here's Ambassador Bolton.
I think on January the 20th, 2021, I would not have breathed a sigh of relief. I would have had a better sense, knowing now that he's coming back as the nominee and may win the election, that we all made a mistake in releasing our breath on the 20th of January.
Yeah, we did.
and that we should have started on January the 21st to worry about it.
What was your thinking back then? Is just he would never be back and running again? Was that?
Right. Well, I mean, I wrote a 500-page book that came out in June of 2020 that laid out what I thought was wrong based on my 17 months as national security advisor. So it was not a new view necessarily, but I don't think after January the 6th, really, there was any view that Trump could make a comeback. And then a number of Republicans made the pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago. And we know where all that ended up. It's incredible. It's a real aberration in American history, and a danger that if he gets a second term, he'll cause even more damage than he did in the first term.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.